You just live that way, and so to be in this role is pretty awesome. And then my own son is now one of our GAs, so he's going to be, a coach. And I just think that anytime you can pass on a legacy of impact, a legacy of being able to do the very thing that your own dad did, and how much I loved it. I loved going. I couldn't wait as a elementary kid to get picked up by my dad and go get ride the team bus to the games and ride on the bus back. And I look forward to it every single week and loved going to practice when I could. And fall camp was big for me because that's before school started, so I was always there. And I just I used to sit in on the coaches meetings when I was a kid with my dad, and I loved it. And so to do the very thing that he's doing, and it is pretty cool for him to come back. And he's 85 now, and his health has been hard, but at the same time we're blessed to have him still with us and be able to share in his time together, and then also pass these things on to his grandson and our son. It's pretty cool.
Thanks,
you were
Coach.
mentioning in your previous statements about how it's an exciting opportunity when you're going to be divisionless, just because of that equitable scheduling. How much of a difference do you think it makes when you don't necessarily have to beat 3 top 5 teams in the country every year on your schedule?
What do you think? No, it's going to be different. Then obviously it's going to rotate, and I tell you what, you had USC, UCLA, and USC. You look at the way that they have recruited the last several years. They're right there with the top 5 teams in the country. So it's the conference is deep. There's no doubt, and everybody you play is going to be good. And so, but Ohio State and Penn State and Michigan, just historically speaking, they've been 3 of the top 10 programs in the nation for a long, long time. So they're hard to beat. And when they play the teams from the West Division, you can just look the record up yourself. I won't give it to you. I know exactly what it is. You can figure it out. But bottom line is that they're tough to beat. And so a lot of respect for them. And bottom line though is I do think it's a good thing for the whole conference to have everybody playing each other in a more equitable way. I think it's good for everybody. And so, but bottom line is that we're gonna play whoever they put out on our schedule. We know what the 24 and the 25 schedule is right now. It'll probably change from 26 to 27, I'm sure, for what might be stated at this point, but that's what they put out. And so it's an exciting time to be part of this conference. And when you think you're coast to coast now, which we are, it changes recruiting. And I'm excited. I've never played UCLA or USC in a game, and other than the bowl game out there, my first game as head coach, I've not played in the state of California before, outside of that. So just a new time, new era, and there'll be a lot of travel. A little different. We got to figure out those cross-country flights and everything for mid-year games, but at the same time, I think that any time you can add really quality programs to your conference, that's definitely a great thing.
Some folks talked about a desire to maybe play the slot a little bit outside. Just what areas have you seen him kind of grow in spring camp and throughout the summer?
Yeah, he's worked extremely hard at just ball skills, catching the balls, and being able to be extremely dependable in that area, and for a guy that's built the way he is, and he doesn't have long features, so but he's as hard a worker as I've ever been around. That kid is out there every possible moment, catching kicks and punts and just catching any ball he can. Just, as a receiver, as out of the backfield, as a running back, and he's a running back first, but at the same time we've got a very versatile guy that can do multiple things, and so it's about getting your best playmakers to football. And he's that guy. He's one of those guys for sure. We have several guys that we put in that category, and so I'm proud of him. He had a great freshman year, but he didn't do anything but just work even harder. And that really excites me.
You talked about how watching similar players in terms of size and stature, Nathan Thomas, Tavon Austin, just gone here like State last year. What value do you think comes to him watching smaller players like that from a coach's perspective?
I think it's good. I think that we always challenge our guys that, hey, who emulates your game after, and obviously he's built a lot like those guys. And there's certain things that body type can do well, and there's things that they may be challenged by. So I don't think there's any problem with looking at those guys and saying, hey, I want to be a guy like that. I want to be a guy that can do those kinds of things. And at the end of the day, if you're that kind of size, you got to be really, really special in space. And you got to be able to avoid those big collisions, and that's really what, he has the ability to do, and so, but at the same time, he's got to take the next step as a player. I think he's worked really hard to get that, but he's got to earn it on game day.
You mentioned last week about a touch count for him. Do you put a number on it internally, like how many times you want to?
Oh yeah, we do. We've already done that, and so we're not going to
Not going to reveal, but I'm
No,
just
but
curious,
we
like,
do.
How do you try to generate that? Just kind of
Well, to me, it's going to be total touches. You know, that includes special teams and everything. Because every time a guy touches the football, then obviously he has a chance to make a play. And like I said, we got several guys that we felt we got to get these guys the football. So, but because of his versatility at his position, as well as being able to get the ball to him as a receiver, as a running back, and in the return game, that to me is really, really important. You know, and so I think he's just a guy that we know for sure. At the end of the day, we got to make sure he touches the ball a certain number of times.
Do you think he's going to be a really valuable decoy because of that too? Like,
Oh, yeah.
Everybody knows you want to get him the
Sure.
ball. A lot of eyes on him.
I think, you know, it's like anything else. So like, if you want to be a really elite pass rusher, it really helps you if you got another guy on the other side that they got to deal with. If they just got to focus on you, then it's, you know, it becomes, you know, a little simpler, all right? But now they start focusing on you, and that's going to create one-on-ones with other talented players that are around him. So everybody's going to benefit from that. And the bottom line is that, you know, he's had to enhance his skill set to be able to, for us to have more opportunities to get the football. And so that's been the focus this offseason, is how can we continue to develop his skills to where he is a true threat in the throw game, in the run game, and also be able to stay on the field to, hey, they have to protect the quarterback in pass protections, you know, which is something that was hard for him a year ago, you know, and so, and then to also be able to expand his role in the return game, you know. So to me, that's on him, and that's the thing. And I sat down with him, mapped out, this is what we want you to work on this whole offseason, and that's what he's been doing.
Tom, you mentioned when we were on doing the earlier press conference, and it was in context of not calling defensive plays, how other things take you away from things like that. You know, some of the CEO parts of being a football coach. I know football coaches aren't having any coaching on the field. How hard is it these days, especially with the changes that have come in the last couple of years, to deal with the things that take you away from it?
Yeah, I think that's always the catch-22 of being the head coach over being a coordinator. You know, the thing that, you know, most of us, we got into this game for two reasons. You know, at least I look at it this way. Like, I got this game because, man, I want to impact young men's lives, and I love coaching ball. You know, I really enjoy the process of getting ready for an opponent. I love studying the film. That doesn't tire me. It doesn't wear me. I mean, I enjoy it. It takes a lot of hours, but I enjoy that. So that's the part I miss, you know, when I don't call, you know. But at the same time, I also believe that, you know, as a head coach, you have a tremendous opportunity for impact on a lot of people's lives. And so I put a lot of value into that. So that to me is why I feel like that I still feel energized, you know, because I'm only doing one of the two things that really drove me into this profession, but I'm also really in a maximum amount of position to impact, you know, not just players, but coaches and their families. And so I feel like that's still gives me tremendous purpose. And I'm also very involved defensively, even though I'm not calling it. But and I would really, if I didn't get a chance to be part of that at all, schematically, that would be kind of hard, you know. So, but that's the part I got. So right now, the way it works is I need to be able to walk out of that defensive room or that offensive room when I'm with the staff and deal with the administrative issue or you know, like you talk about being the CEO, which we basically are of our organization. So, yeah, I think you got to balance that, but it's also part of, you know, hey, you know, you got a great opportunity to impact a lot of people when you're in the head coach role.
Talking about the schedule a little bit, it's a little weird that there's everything's coming in 2024, the new teams in the conference, the new schedule, but we still have one more season before all that happens. There's going to need to be changes with your program, how you prepare for things and all of that. How do you deal with this season knowing the changes are coming next year?
Well, I mean, you compartmentalize. I mean, we know what's coming next, but we've not really spent any time dealing with that right now, you know. So we got, you know, I have a systematic way of trying to approach that, you know, in regards to our, you know, our DFO and how we're planning ahead with him. But from a football perspective, you know, we're not really talking about anything other than, you know, what's ahead of us in week one, you know. So, but I'm also not a tunnel. I realize I can't have just tunnel vision on things. I have to be able to have a big picture view of where we're going. And so I just think it's an exciting time. You thought about and you also throw in the 12-team playoff. You know, that's another new part of the 24 season. So definitely exciting things ahead for sure for college football and for the Big Ten. But you know, right now the main focus is, and the one focus is, getting our team ready for fall camp and ready for the Ohio State Buckeyes.
Now, for your game against Ohio State last year, what do you remember about the challenges with somebody like Marvin Harrison and just the challenges that he faced?
Yeah, he's special, you know, and they have a special quarterback and special receivers, and not just him. You talk about having multiple guys you got to deal with, you know, and so, and a massive offensive line, you know. So I just think that they create a lot of issues, you know, and so it's hard to focus in on just one guy without question. Now they will have a couple new tackles and a new quarterback as their starters, whoever that might be, and so you got to be able to adapt to figure out who that's going to look and how that's going to affect their offense and how their offense will look. But regardless, it's going to be a very talented player playing any of those three spots. So, but and Harrison's one of those guys where, I mean, it's like anybody else. You got to be able to decide, how do you handle that guy? Is it a group effort, and if you put too much emphasis on him, is it going to hurt your other players? Obviously it will. So we got to do a great job of not allowing a player like that to be able to take a game over and then end up beating you.
What stands out about him versus them? They've had a lot of good receivers.
Yeah, they have.
What stands out about him?
Well, his size and speed, and I'm telling you, his ball skills are ridiculous. I mean, that guy just doesn't drop balls, and makes some unbelievable catches. So that makes for, when you got length, when you got speed, and you got phenomenal ball skills, that makes for a very tough matchup. It's hard to say, well, what do you take away from the guy? How can you, we do have some longer corners and some bigger DBs, which will help, in that regard. But at the same time, how much do you want to put a guy one-on-one with him? That's a tough matchup for anybody to be able to do. But you know what? We got some guys that are going to have to rise up, because at the end of the day, you're going to have to cover guys in certain situations. I'm saying you're going to play man on him the whole time, but he's going to have that. And that's why, that's what he's working for, and that's what we're working for. So, end of the day, you got a really, really talented football team that's got probably, one of the best, if not the best, receiver I've ever gone against.
Coach, I'm from the Grand Rapids area, and you recently offered Robbie Kavaleski out of East Grand Rapids a walk-on opportunity. What stood out to you about him, and why give him this walk-on opportunity?
I tell you what, he's passionate about Indiana, and he really wanted to be a part of our program. And obviously, he's a guy that has position flexibility. He can play offensive line, he can play tight end, and just want guys that are passionate about coming to Indiana and helping this program improve in any way possible. And when we have a guy as a walk-on, I want guys that are here for all the right reasons. Guys that are going to be going to class, and they're going to do an excellent job in that classroom, represents a first-class way, and they're going to do everything right off the field, on the field, in the workouts. And he just comes across as a guy to me who's going to just be a tremendously hard worker, that I'm not going to have to worry about anything that he's doing or not doing. He's going to be where he's supposed to be, when he's supposed to be there. And that's what you get when you get a guy that really cares about the opportunity he's been given, and he realizes it's pretty special.
Coach Allen, another recruiting question for you. As a guy that covers Fort Wayne area teams, what have you liked about just the caliber of talent that's come out of the area, just knowing you've brought in some Fort Wayne folks over the years as head coach?
Yeah, I tell you, it's been an increase, I would say, of guys that are being, recruited to and by the Power 5 schools in the country. And so, it's a really good pocket of football, and highly competitive conference. A lot of guys, very good coaches in that league, and very well prepared. So anytime you get that many guys, and then you start growing and you start seeing more in the future. So I think it motivates other guys, to be able to, you take some of those guys that play multiple sports, and they know, hey, I may love basketball, but man, I can go to football and be a guy that stands out, as a guy that has this type of athleticism, and so in the receiver position or DB position. So yeah, it's become, especially the last few years, a lot of guys up there, and I'm sure there's going to be more to come.
Going back to the